Okay, you've brought us a stack of sources, and you want us to dive in, extract the most important nuggets, and help you get informed fast.
Yep, that's the plan.
That's what we do here on the deep dive. We take the information and we try to serve you the signal, cut through all the noise.
Think of us as your guides. You've shared the raw material, and we're here to navigate it with you, highlighting the insights that really seem to matter.
And today we're diving deep into something that, well, promises some pretty transformative results. We've been spending time with excerpts from the incredibly popular book Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack the core philosophy, the practical, actionable strategies, and maybe some surprising insights found in these pages.
The goal being.
To see how, according to the source material, they can help you maybe dramatically improve your life, starting with, those first crucial hours of your day. So right out of the gate, the book presents this really powerful, almost audacious central premise. It's the idea that anyone, and the book really emphasizes anyone, can achieve what it calls level 10 success.
Level 10 success, that sounds, well, ambitious. What does that actually mean in the book's context?
It's about hitting peak performance and fulfillment, not just in one or two areas, but across all the significant dimensions of life the book identifies.
Like what sort of areas?
Well, we're talking happiness, health, money, personal freedom, career success, relationships, love, basically the whole shebang.
Huh.
The argument is that most people find, some level of success. Maybe they excel in their career or have a good family life, but they kind of settle for average or even less than average in other really vital areas.
Right.
And the book challenges that, saying level 10 across the board is actually achievable.
That feels like a pretty stark contrast to the common experience for a lot of people. Accepting good enough, settling for less than they maybe initially dreamed of in parts of their lives.
Exactly. And the source points out this isn't about being greedy, but more about fulfilling your full potential. And what makes the author's perspective particularly compelling, according to these sources, is his backstory.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he didn't write this book from some place of lifelong privilege or effortless success. He wrote it after hitting what most of us would definitely call rock bottom.
Yeah.
Not just once, but twice.
Okay, the first instance you mentioned is just, wow, harrowing. Only 20.
Yeah.
Right. A head-on car collision.
Yeah, the sources describe him being clinically dead for 6 minutes.
6 minutes?
11 broken bones, irreversible brain damage. Doctors apparently told him he might never walk again. It's an absolutely astonishing account of physical trauma and, well, overcoming seemingly impossible odds.
You'd think that alone would be the defining challenge of a lifetime.
Right. But then years later, after fighting back from that, building a career, a business, he faced another, what he describes as an even deeper low.
Okay.
This was back in 2008 during the financial crisis. His business collapsed, leaving him with $425,000 in personal debt. Yeah. And the sources really highlight the crushing depression that followed. Feeling isolated, totally defeated, hitting bottom mentally, emotionally, financially.
But what's truly striking, and this seems like a key insight from the book, is how he frames these experiences. He calls them his lucky turning points. That sounds...
counterintuitive, I know.
Yep.
But he argues that these moments of absolute crisis weren't lucky because they happened, obviously.
All right.
But because they forced him to confront himself, to learn, to grow, and to transform in ways he just never would have otherwise.
So the hardship itself became the catalyst.
Exactly. And he says it was overcoming these huge personal catastrophes that gave him the tools and the perspective to then help others navigate their own limitations.
And crucially, that second rock bottom, the financial ruin and depression, that was the direct spark for this.
That was the direct catalyst. Desperate for a way out, he started looking for habits successful people shared, kind of distilled them down, and created the routine that became the core of this book, The Miracle Morning.
Okay, so this brings us right to the heart of the solution presented in the sources. The Miracle Morning routine itself. He developed this sequence of daily practices when he was at his absolute lowest, needing something radical.
And the sources make a pretty bold claim about its power. Within just 12 months of implementing this simple, consistent daily routine, the author reports this dramatic turnaround.
Like what kind of turnaround?
Built 2 successful businesses, completely paid off that staggering $425,000 debt, became a sought-after international speaker, and maybe most remarkably, transformed his physical fitness to the point where he completed an 84-kilometer ultramarathon.
That level of transformation in just 1 year is, well, it's quite the testimonial.
It really is.
And the book doesn't just lean on his story, right? The sources highlight that this routine has been adopted and apparently proven effective by a really wide range of people.
Yeah, across countless professions and life stages. We're talking salespeople, top CEOs, teachers, stay-at-home parents, students, athletes, you name it.
So it's not just for entrepreneurs or people in crisis.
No, the book describes this global community of people sharing their excitement and results online, through videos and posts, crediting the routine with really significant positive changes.
And what's the feeling it's supposedly cultivates?
The description that often comes up from people who adopt the miracle morning is waking up feeling genuinely energized and excited, feeling like Christmas morning every day.
Yeah, like Christmas morning.
Yeah. It's presented as a way to sort of reclaim your mornings and, by extension, your life, ready to proactively maximize your potential right from the moment you get out of bed. But here's the hurdle for so many people, isn't it? You hear morning routine. If you're not naturally an early bird, your immediate thought is, yeah, right, I'm not a morning person.
Absolutely. It feels like such a fundamental part of your identity sometimes. Does the book just kind of dismiss that feeling?
Not at all, actually. The author directly addresses this. He says he was exactly the same way, described himself as an owl person who hated mornings, and hitting snooze multiple times was just his norm. But the core message here is that this is presented as a limiting belief, not some fixed biological destiny. The book basically argues it's something anyone can overcome with the right approach.
All right, now here's a nugget from the sources that I found genuinely surprising and, frankly, a little mind-bending. It's about sleep.
Ah, yes.
The book suggests that the amount of sleep you get, whether it's 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, is often less impactful on how you feel when you wake up than your belief about that sleep.
That's right. It's a really powerful claim about the mind-body connection. The author recounts these personal experiments where, even on nights with less sleep than he thought he needed, practicing positive self-talk before bed.
Like what?
Like telling himself he was grateful for the sleep he was going to get and that he would wake up energized, resulted in him actually feeling energized in the morning.
So it's shifting the focus from clock watching and feeling like you're in deficit to mindset and positive expectation before you even close your eyes. That's a significant reframing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And beyond just the mindset shift, the sources offer incredibly practical, immediate, almost foolproof tips designed to physically get you out of bed and overcome that powerful pull of the snooze button in those critical first minutes.
Okay, these are small actions, but the book suggests they have a pretty outsized impact on your wake-up motivation level, as it calls it. What are they?
Okay, number one, super simple. Set your alarm clock on the other side of the room.
Ah, the classic.
Classic, but effective. It forces you to physically get out of bed. No just reaching over and hitting snooze half asleep.
You have to actually engage your body immediately.
Exactly. Number two, as soon as you're out of bed, go straight to the bathroom and brush your teeth.
Okay.
The book mentions the minty freshness can help, but maybe more importantly, it's the second small, immediate action that signals I am awake, I am starting my day, further boosting that motivation level.
Okay, so you're up, you've brushed your teeth. What's next?
Number three, drink a full glass of water right away. Exactly. The sources explain that after 6-8 hours without water, your body is often mildly dehydrated.
Yeah.
And dehydration is actually a common cause of fatigue. So rehydrating immediately helps wake up your system.
That makes simple physiological sense. And number four,
Immediately change into your workout clothes.
even if you're not planning a huge workout.
Yeah, even if it's just for a walk or stretching, putting on clothes designed for activities sends this powerful psychological signal to your brain that you are ready to do something, ready to engage in your routine, not just crawl back into bed.
Right, getting into action mode. The sources also mention other little helpful things, right? Like alarms that brighten the room.
Yeah, simulating sunrise or programming your thermostat to warm up the house a bit before your alarm goes off in winter so getting out of bed isn't quite so bracing.
Yeah.
The cumulative effect of these small actions, taking like less than 5 minutes total, is, according to the book, enough to boost your wake-up motivation level from maybe a sluggish 1 or 2 up to a significantly more functional 6 or 7.
Making the rest of the routine feel much more doable.
Exactly. More accessible.
Okay, so you've successfully navigated the getting out of bed phase using these simple tricks. Now you have this block of time, maybe before the rest of the world really starts buzzing. What do you fill it with? This is where the core lifesavers come in, right?
Yes, the acronym FAVERS. The book identifies 6 practices that, when done consistently, are presented as the engine driving that personal transformation and progress towards the level 10 life.
Okay, let's unpack each one based on how the sources describe them. First up, S for silence.
Right. Silence is really about cultivating present moment awareness, inner peace, and clarity. It can take various forms: meditation, prayer, mindful breathing, just quiet reflection, or practicing gratitude.
And the key practical tip here.
The sources emphasize getting out of bed and ideally out of the bedroom to actually practice it. Otherwise, the temptation to fall back asleep is just too strong.
Makes sense. And the benefit.
Highlighted benefits include reducing stress, increasing self-awareness, calming the mind, and gaining perspective on your priorities. It's about starting the day from a place of peace rather than, rushing anxiety.
Okay. Next, A for affirmations. Repeating positive statements about yourself and your goals.
Yeah, the power of affirmations, as described in the source, is really in reprogramming your subconscious mind. We often have these limiting beliefs or fears ingrained over time, right?
Sure.
Affirmations are presented as a way to actively override those negative loops with empowering truths or aspirations. The sources mention figures like Muhammad Ali declaring, "I am the greatest," or Jim Carrey visualizing success.
So it's not just empty positivity.
No. And crucially, the book details how to craft effective affirmations. Clearly stating your purpose, defining who you need to become to achieve it, including specific actions or plans, and even incorporating inspiring quotes. It's about consciously stating your intentional identity and your commitment.
That connection between being the person and achieving the goal keeps coming up, which leads us neatly to V for visualization, mentally rehearsing your desired outcomes.
Absolutely. This is all about creating a compelling future vision. The sources recount that famous story of Jim Carrey writing himself that check for $10 million.
Right. Dated for Thanksgiving 1995?
Visualizing, receiving it, and then actually manifesting that exact amount for Dumb and Dumber.
Incredible story.
The book suggests visualization is a powerful way to align your actions with your goals, seeing yourself not just having the success, but also successfully executing the steps needed to get there. Kind of pulls you forward.
Okay, number 4. E for exercise, getting the body moving.
This is presented as pretty non-negotiable for elevating your physical, mental, and emotional energy. And the author shares his own journey with this, which is quite interesting.
How so?
He admits he initially hated running, hated it, but started forcing himself to do just 1 kilometer during his financial crisis, purely out of desperation for some kind of mental shift.
Wow, just 1K.
Yeah, that tiny, consistent step, born of necessity, apparently evolved into a love for running that culminated in him completing that 84-kilometer ultramarathon.
That's an amazing example from the source right there. Talk about starting small. Okay, 5th is R for reading, consuming knowledge from books.
Right. The book positions reading as basically a shortcut to wisdom and proven strategies from others. The suggested goal is super achievable. Just 10 pages a day.
Doesn't sound like much.
No. But while it sounds minimal, the sources correctly point out that consistency makes all the difference. 10 pages a day adds up to 3,650 pages a year. That's like 18 standard 200-page books.
That adds up fast.
Yeah. And a key insight here is the emphasis on reading with purpose. This means actively looking for actionable ideas, highlighting, underlining, marking up your books.
So get over wanting to keep your books pristine.
Exactly. The book encourages overcoming that perfectionist urge, arguing the real value comes from extracting and applying the knowledge, not from the book's physical condition.
That's a good reminder. And finally, the 6th saver, S for scribing, which is basically journaling.
Yep, journaling. The practice of writing things down, your thoughts, ideas, lessons learned, things you're grateful for, or maybe daily plans and reflections.
And why writing instead of just thinking?
The sources explain that writing brings this incredible clarity and self-awareness that just thinking often doesn't provide. It could be digital or analog, whatever works for you, but dating entries is recommended for tracking progress.
And there are different ways to journal.
Yeah, various types are mentioned, like gratitude journaling, capturing ideas as they pop up, or simply recording the day's events and insights. The book includes a great quote from Rolf Smith. "Ideas come and go. The problem is the ink of memory vanishes instantly."
Writing makes them stick.
Exactly. Makes them permanent and accessible for reflection and action later. Now, the effectiveness of these 6 practices, according to the source material, really relies heavily on turning them into consistent habits. It loops right back to that core idea of becoming the person you need to be.
Jim Rohn has that famous line, right? Quoted in the book. Success is something you attract by the person you become. The core message here seems to be that the quality of your life isn't really dictated by chance, but by the quality of your daily habits.
Precisely. And forming new habits, as we all know, takes time and consistent effort. The book proposes a specific timeline for this habit formation journey,
Midbar.
a 30-day period.
30 days, okay, not the 21 days you sometimes hear about.
Right. This length is based on the author's own experience and observations, interestingly contrasting with that more common 21-day idea.
And it breaks down this 30-day cycle into three distinct stages. Understanding these is supposed to be crucial for pushing through.
Yeah, exactly. The first stage is days 110. The book calls this the intolerable stage.
That's encouraging.
Huh. Well, it's honest. This is where you're just starting. It's difficult, it feels uncomfortable, and that internal resistance is incredibly high. Everything in you might be screaming at you to stop.
And this is where, according to the sources, most people bail. They feel that strong resistance and mistakenly think, oh, this feeling is permanent, this habit isn't for me.
Exactly. But the book argues if you can just push past that initial hump, you enter stage 2, days 11-20. This is called the uncomfortable but possible stage.
Okay, slightly better.
Slightly better. You're getting used to the routine. It's requiring less, maybe brute force discipline, but it still takes conscious effort. You might start to feel some small benefits here, which definitely helps build confidence that it is possible.
And then comes stage 3.
Days 21-30, the unstoppable stage. This is where the habit really starts to solidify. It requires significantly less effort, starts to feel more natural, maybe even enjoyable.
Ah, the payoff.
Yeah, and it begins to feel like an integral part of your identity. The book stresses that reaching and really solidifying the habit during this phase is critical for it to stick long-term and truly transform you into the person who just does this practice effortlessly.
Does the book offer help navigating these stages?
It does. The source material mentions that the book provides a structured framework called the 30-Day Life Transformation Project. This involves steps like self-assessment, using a life wheel, casting a level 10 vision for yourself, identifying the specific habits you need, and daily tracking to monitor your progress and keep you accountable.
So it gives you a clear path through those potentially tough 30 days.
Exactly.
So ultimately, as we've journeyed through these sources on Miracle Morning, the central, really powerful message that keeps emerging is this. Achieving the extraordinary life you desire isn't primarily about changing your circumstances or wishing you were somewhere else.
Right.
It's fundamentally about the person you become.
It really is about internal transformation leading to those external results. And a big part of that becoming is shedding old limitations. The sources introduce this interesting concept of rearview mirror syndrome.
Rearview mirror syndrome.
Yeah, the tendency to let your past mistakes, failures, or perceived identity dictate what you believe is possible for your future.
Like driving while looking only in the rearview mirror.
Exactly. The book challenges this, arguing that the person you were is not necessarily the person you have to be moving forward. You can choose differently.
It even reframes feelings like fear or hesitation when you're facing a new challenge, doesn't it?
It does. Instead of interpreting that as a sign you're not capable, the book suggests it can actually be a positive signal, a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone and are poised for growth, ready to strive for something more.
That's a useful perspective shift.
Definitely. And the sources also touch on the ripple effect of personal growth, highlighting the importance of contribution, adding value to others' lives. The book suggests this isn't just, altruism, but is deeply connected to your own fulfillment and success.
And positive mindset shifts are woven throughout the whole philosophy.
Absolutely. From preparing for tomorrow with positive expectation through those pre-sleep affirmations we talked about, to focusing on contributing to others' happiness as a way to maybe counteract self-centeredness.
So the distilled message from these pages feels profoundly empowering. You don't need to wait for permission or some perfect moment. You don't need to dwell on who you've been.
Right.
You can start right where you are, loving who you are in this moment, and actively work through deliberate daily practices like the Miracle Morning to improve both your present self and your future potential.
Taking radical responsibility for your life, according to the book, isn't meant to be a burden. It's the key that gives you the power to actually change it.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the insights presented in the excerpts from Miracle Morning.
We've definitely explored the core promise that a level 10 life across all important areas is potentially within reach, grounded in the author's own pretty incredible journey through adversity.
We've unpacked the practical daily structure of the Miracle Morning itself, those 6 life SAVERS, and even the actionable tips for just, getting out of bed in the first place.
Yeah. And we've delved into the mechanism of habit formation, that critical 30-day timeline, and the overarching philosophy that transformation is really about becoming the person capable of creating and sustaining the life you want by consciously choosing your habits today.
This wasn't just a summary. It was, we hope, a distillation of the most impactful ideas and strategies from these sources that you could potentially apply to your own life, perhaps as early as tomorrow morning.
So based on the book's premise that your past doesn't have to define your future, and that who you become really dictates what you achieve, here's a thought for you to carry forward. Considering the power of those first few minutes and this concept of becoming the person you need to be, what single small habit from that SAVERS framework will you choose to start cultivating tomorrow morning to begin building that future self?